every HDB flat that we sell, HDB lose money.
The heck?
I think we are moving in the right direction. 2025, it was 0.9% increase. Third quarter, 0.4% increase. Last quarter, 0% increase.
Oh, is there a future where singles can buy bigger flats than 2-room flexis?
Does it make sense for HDB to include that land cost when pricing?
My view is that it is the correct way to do it.
Oh wow.
Is there a current projection for when Singapore is going to run out of land space to build HDBs?
Short answer is
Whoa. There's one thing Singaporeans can't stop talking about, and that's housing prices. BTO, where's my BTO? I want BTO now. So today, we brought somebody who, if I might say, is very, very qualified to talk about this topic. Let's welcome back to the show, Mr. Chee.
Hi everyone. What a relief to have you back under more comfortable circumstances.
happy to be back.
How does it feel like to leave MOT or MRT breakdowns behind? Pass it on to someone else.
Don't say until like that lah. Well, we all want the MRT to be reliable, to run smoothly, and the team, the One Transport family, they are working very hard. They are doing their best, putting in new trains, new equipment, new technology. Give them some time. They are making steady progress, and I'm confident that they will make the system better.
But are you relieved? Is my question.
Well, the job in MND and MOT are both quite high stress because both are politically quite sensitive.
All the M quite stressed, man.
But there's a difference. The MOT stress is fast and furious. It comes at you, and
in the middle of
if
the
you
night.
handle it properly, it should go away quickly as well. It is a bit like Korean fried chicken. You deep fry the chicken, fast and furious, but it's cooked very quickly. The MND kind of stress is different. MND stress is more like
Basting a steak.
though I was going to say the slow cooker, right? Boil the soup, boil. But if you're not careful, you don't handle properly, the stress will come or the problem will come later. And the soup will boil over. If you reach that stage, it's game over. Because for MND, if you don't build enough and there's a shortage, and last minute you want to ramp up, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So the nature of the infrastructure ministry is that you must always have scenarios and must always have buffer.
Okay, don't mind me. I bring the elephant into the room. And I think we've talked with previous ministers for national development also regarding $1 million resale flat prices, right? And I think the one question that maybe we didn't get to ask is why is it that HDB doesn't just kind of buy back the flats, maybe give me a bit of profit if possible, so that I don't lose out. But at the same time, the people who are also trying to buy their first home and have to buy a resale over a BTO get more affordable flats.
So the thing is this, if you do that, you are in a way taking away the opportunity for the flat owner to be able to monetize this asset. And sometimes people need to do that for various reasons, Raja. Retirees, when their children grow up, right, and the children move out, they want to right size, they want to switch from where they are currently staying into a smaller flat, could be a community care apartment, could be a 2-room flexi. And then they sell this current flat, switch to a smaller flat, and the balance amount, they use it for their retirement. So if you tell them, say, I don't allow you to monetize, or I cap your selling price, in a way, we are shortchanging the current flat owner, which they have worked hard to pay off during their working life. If I give you some stats, just to show that I think we are moving in the right direction. In 2024, resale flat prices during that whole year shot up by about 9.7%. And during COVID, it was also quite high. 2025, the total increase for the whole year was 2.9%. So it has come down. It's starting to moderate. And if you look at the last few quarters, so second quarter, 2025, it was 0.9% increase. Third quarter, 0.4% increase. Last quarter, 0% increase. So actually stayed flat.
Do we want increase? Do we want zero? Do we want negative?
I think a slight decrease is wearable because before COVID, actually we had that. Resale market before COVID, for a few years, it was coming down gradually or it's stable. That is okay. If you look at what's happening in some other countries, where the property market experience a sudden drop, 30, 40, 50%, actually there are quite a lot of negative repercussions. First, families who own property and have loans may face negative equity, right? Second, a lot of consumers, because of the negative wealth effect, suddenly you feel poorer because your property market crash, your asset value
Depreciates.
significantly, you then hold back on your consumption. So
Yeah.
if you look at it, actually this is not a good trend. The ideal for us over the medium longer term is for the property market to keep pace with economic growth and income growth.
Which also, if I have to put it bluntly, we do want to see positive figures, not negative figures in price trend, correct? If, for example, Raja buys a resale flat,
Yes.
everybody wants the price to go down, especially for people that don't own property yet, like
Yes.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
So if the price trend is sustained, go down, you dare to buy me? You will only wait for BTO, because if not, you will buy and just lose money.
But in my, maybe selfish, but I don't know, maybe in my naivety is that I don't find that a problem, because why is housing seen as a vehicle for any sort of like place or any sort of like speculation? Like, why is it not? It's supposed to be a public service. It's supposed to be a public good. Everybody deserves a roof.
And it still is a public good. So I don't think we should see steady appreciation as speculative, because speculative is only when it cannot be matched with an increase in economic growth or income, right? Then it becomes a bubble. But if let's say your income levels rise, your facilities, your amenities in the surrounding area were to improve, and there's real value, I see that as actually appreciating asset, increasing in real value. It's a good thing, actually, because if you buy the BTO, later on you're able to sell it at a higher price. You can do like what Jonathan did, which is you upgrade to a condominium, private property. So whatever the case may be, the asset is of value to the flat owner. And we want to help the flat owners to be able to have those appreciation, but we need to do it in a way which is not speculative, like what you mentioned.
Yeah.
We don't want it to be a property bubble.
So then I propose the progressive wage model for our housing.
Oh.
Like, so
Yes.
every BTO, based on how we price it, then every
Was it
resale.
Parliament now?
In a way,
Elected person.
we do have that. No,
No, then every resale mark at this price, then
Yeah.
every condo mark at this price. So I can still sell, earn money, then I go buy a upgraded property.
How do you fix prices and decide? Because you see, if I do that and I say flats in Toa Payoh, this price, flats in another place, this price, they will say, not fair. Why the Toa Payoh flat is more expensive, the other flat is less expensive? Because there's no way for anybody to single-handedly decide on behalf of the market. So the selling price can still deviate from the valuation, right?
Right.
Yeah. In fact, if you look at it, we do have the outcome that Denise mentioned today. Because if we don't have that outcome, you wouldn't see the trends I mentioned just now, where the flats in Woodlands, Jurong West, not because we set it, but because the market calibrates based on supply and demand, price points are different from the flats in Yishun and Sembawang, and different from the price points in Tampines and Punggol, and different from the price points in Bishan Toa Payoh.
Yeah.
You mentioned about $1 million flats. 2025, about 6% of the flats transacted in the resale market were transacted at above $1 million.
Damn,
But
that's pretty high.
94% are still below $1 million. So if you look at different parts of Singapore, if I look at, say, Tampines and Punggol, we still have 4-room HDB flats that have at least 70 years of lease left. So it's suitable for first-time buyers. That are priced between 650,000 to 700,000. Places like Sembawang or Yishun, you can still get at below 600,000. If you go to Jurong West or to Woodlands, there are 4-room flats that are priced below 550,000. And this is before grant. First-time buyers, because they have this thing called the enhanced CPF grant, right? Housing grant. Depending on your income, of course, but you can qualify for grant up to $230,000 for resale flat. Up to
$230,000.
$230,000.
The heck? Since
For
when?
first-time
Has
buyers.
this been a while already?
We have raised it over time. It used to be lower, but because we wanted to ensure that resale flat buyers, especially first-time buyers with lower income, can receive some help. So the government will provide, in addition to, this is an additional housing grant for BTO as well.
At my time, a million years ago when I BTO, right? Resale, if I'm not wrong, got no grant.
Have lah. During my time when I bought my HDB flat, also got grant. What we're talking about. Grant.
Can I ask, right, like how are BTO flat prices determined? Because it's not that a 5-room BTO is the same across Singapore.
Okay,
right?
How
very
many
good
times
question,
somebody
Denise.
asked you this question, you think?
Many.
I want to know whether we might ever see $1 million BTO.
So let me first start by explaining this way. Resale flat is really between buyer and seller, right? BTO prices, they are set by government.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we do is we will, of course, have to cost it because the chief valuer will have to see how much the land is, and the HDB will, of course, incur building costs. So there is a real cost to government of building the flat. So let's say we call that X dollars. But we don't sell to the buyer based on what is the cost. We sell to the buyer based on what we think people can afford at different income levels. So we do the analysis, we look at it, we say, okay, at this income level, what is the housing price to income ratio? What is the mortgage servicing ratio? The housing price to income ratio is how many times is the housing price compared to your combined income, household income, and therefore how many years you have to use your income to pay.
Yeah.
You know, in some cities where it's very unaffordable, this can be as high as say 20 times. But in our case for public housing, with grants and everything in, sometimes it's 3-4 times. Sometimes it's a little bit higher depending on your size of the flat and location. It can be 5-6 times depending. So mortgage servicing ratio is the other way to look at it, because this one means what percentage of your monthly income do you spend on servicing your housing loan? About 9 in 10 of first-time buyers in 2025, when they collect key, every month when they service their loan, they can either pay fully using CPF or just with a little bit of cash. So this is another way of judging whether the price is affordable or not. So that's how we price the BTO flat. We don't go with the cost. We don't go with the market price. We go with different income levels, what we think people can afford, and then we will set the prices of the BTO flats accordingly. Not every flat will be able to fit in the budget of the family at the 30th percentile, to be frank. I mean, that's not possible. Because if every flat fits their budget, it means that the middle income and the upper middle income will not be able to get bigger and better location flats that they want and they can afford. But if I put every flat that only the upper middle income can afford, then the lower income cannot afford. So our job is to make sure we have a good spread when we plan the different towns, the different flat types. That's why we have some flats that are bigger, 4 or 5 rooms, some flats at more attractive locations, some flats at further away places. But the key is this, and this is a commitment by this government. We want to make sure that public housing will remain accessible and affordable for every generation of Singaporeans.
But by your formula, do you mean that HDB prices are increasing only because income levels are increasing? Because if you are following the ratio of household income, if household income stagnates and or declines, would we then expect BTO prices to stagnate/decline?
Short answer is yes.
Oh.
If indeed your income were to stagnate or decline, to ensure that the flats remain affordable, BTO flats, then we will make sure that we will price it accordingly based on the income. But you know, Jonathan, that is a scenario that we must really avoid as a country. Because if as a population, as a society, our families are not earning more over time, actually with inflation and things like that, what it means is your purchasing power is going down. So we do need to make sure that we have sufficient economic growth, that people can have real wage growth. That means even after accounting for inflation, they can actually still earn more. So it's a important thing for us to then see how we can then keep pace with this income growth by making sure that housing remains affordable. So your housing price cannot run too far ahead of income growth.
There's something else you said earlier that struck me, is that when you said that HDB doesn't sell BTO, doesn't price it based on land cost and construction costs, right?
That's right.
Actually, is it
based on affordability?
Yeah. Okay. So is it so that there are actually multiple estates that BTO launches, right, are a loss making, like HDB loses money on those?
Actually, Rajat, every HDB flat that we sell, HDB lose money because the cost
Singapore of us
will be definitely higher than the selling price. And this is why if you look at HDB's financial statements every year, they have a deficit of more than 6 billion.
Billion.
As minister, right? Is it now your job to write this P&L?
Well, this is not a loss. This is a transfer of the resources from the treasury, from MOF, to the population. It is part of our wealth sharing.
Right.
So, but this is a cycle, right? Because then what percentage of the house is the land, the value of the land?
It depends. It depends on the location.
Okay, so whatever it is, that amount, does it make sense for HDB to include that land cost when pricing?
Yeah. I mean, we debated this before. My view is that it is the correct way to do it because the land is leasehold, but there is a cost to the government taking the land and using it for 99 years to build a HDB flat. So we need to account for this cost of the land properly because this money that we pay goes into past reserves. So if you don't account for this properly or you treat it like as though this land has no value, actually what you are doing effectively is you are taking money out of the reserves. you are taking money away from the future generations.
Right.
And you are spending it now. So that's essentially what happens if you do that. Okay, so whether is it a private developer buying a 99-year leasehold to build condos, or whether is it HDB buying a 99-year to build HDB flats, there is value in using that land for 99 years, right? And that value has to be properly accounted for. That value has to be done through a professional valuation by a chief valuer.
Which is a civil servant.
She's appointed under the act by the president.
Oh.
Yeah, so this because it's part of the protection of the past reserves.
This actually explains my own BTO thing.
Okay.
Because I got my house on my first try, right? Sorry.
Oh, hey, flex.
Sorry,
Hey,
You're one of the
I enjoy
more
caviar.
fortunate ones.
Show off of it, huh?
But it's a fluke. Like I was wondering why they fluke it like that also. Because mine was not one estate. Mine was 3 estates. One of it had waterfront view.
Whoa.
Some units got balcony.
Wow.
It's at the edge of Punggol. And then there's 2 at the corner beside the highway. One has underground parking, one don't have. Based on my monkey brain, that's the only difference. Then the building design a bit different, but none that special also, to be very honest. They climbed all that tree together to come out like 1,000 unit or 1,500 unit, that kind. So everybody obviously wanted that waterfront one. But because that one was full, after that one full, everybody dropped out. I had pick of 2 full estates, any floor, any unit I want.
Whoa.
I had I think it was 90% empty when my wife and I go in. And that's how I managed to get it. And I was wondering, why y'all do it like that? Because then you make everybody waste their first chance. And and for everybody that balloted, why were they so easy to give up their
Actually, your
their
estate sound like
first
got
chance?
prime, got what's
But
the other
it is,
two?
yeah.
In
And
your
then
one
now I
estate,
see
you
it.
have 3.
It was actually the wealthy folk.
During his time, we don't have this concept of prime, plus, and standard.
Yeah.
One reason why we introduced this new framework is precisely because in certain very attractive locations, the prices will tend to be higher, right? So the only way to ensure that the flats there can still remain affordable is to give more subsidies.
Right.
So in Toa Payoh, for example, we recently had a BTO flat that would be launched in July last year. The site was classified as prime because it's very near to Caldecott MRT. So what happened is HDB will give additional subsidies so that the buyers will be able to get the flats with more subsidies, so the price will be brought down. But in return, to be fair to other people, the minimum occupation period is not 5 years, it's 10 years.
yeah.
To be fair to other Singaporeans, you buy it to stay, okay. But if you buy it to sell later, then there will be some conditions imposed and there'll be a clawback.
Do you get a lot of people coming up to you complaining that they feel like they have to settle for a non-mature estate or less convenient estate?
Definitely people will have different preferences. But my own sense is that because of our expanding MRT network, and also now, no matter what town you're in, the facilities are going to be quite comprehensive. That really, no matter where you stay, actually every town will have its own attractions. We are also trying to develop more work districts that are closer to residential. Punggol Digital District is one example, right?
Sure.
So
enough. The valuation in Punggol is enough.
more importantly, it's actually now whether it's near family or not. So if your parents are in this, or your in-laws are in this particular area, then they would tend to want to choose that area because they'll be near family. And I think that's a good thing because we do want to encourage this mutual support, right?
The streets that I walk on, right?
Yeah.
Is our not priorities, but our reasoning or what we look for when we look for where we want to live, right? It's not whether I live near parents or because I feel like end to end is 1.5 hours. I can come and see my mom in 1.5 hours. That's not a big deal. But I want to be near work, near recreation, stuff like that will reduce strain on my life. I can live near my mom and then spend 1.5 hour every day going to work when I can, shave that down to 20 minutes, have way more living time. And then I can go see my mom.
Fair point.
Yeah.
So
Fair point.
different people will have different priorities, Raja. You may feel that way now because you don't have children yet. But if you have kids and your parents can help you with the, look after your kids,
Lil Rajas.
then you may actually appreciate being near to your parents. So priorities can change also over time, right? But you're right, different people will have different needs, different requirements.
Isn't that a very big problem though? Because it feels like, increase in demand is to be expected. But I think there are places in Singapore where there are new developments, right? But for things like I want to stay near my mum, it's things that is very hard for city plans to plan for. In a sense whereby if I stay in Tiong Bahru, then I want a Tiong Bahru BTO. So when you open a BTO in Tiong Bahru, everybody in Tiong Bahru wants a Tiong Bahru BTO. And then
There will be places where demand is higher. In mature estates, for example, where there won't be as many open fields and greenfield sites for us to build large number of BTO flats. Your number of new flats will be more constrained. But the demand is strong because these are also very attractive locations, very central locations. That's why we need to find opportunities to bring in more supply. So there are a few factors, of course. I mean, it's not one single factor. So the supply of resale flats will increase significantly in 2026 compared to 2025 because the flats that we built during COVID,
MOP.
some of them are going to reach MOP already in 2026. And this number will go up further in 2027.
But during COVID, we didn't build much, right? Because
we didn't build much in the initial part. So the 2020 was the delay. That's why 2025, the supply was lower. But 2021, 2022, my predecessor, Minister Desmond, he actually said, build more and catch up. So to his credit and to the credit of the MND team, they actually finished catching up in early part of 2025 last year.
Right.
Yeah, but some of these flats will not have reached MOP yet, right?
Yeah.
So you got to wait a few years for these flats to reach MOP, and then the supply in the resale market will then gradually increase.
Right.
So this is one factor. The second factor is demand for resale flats. So the need for people to want to own their own flats, they want to stay in their own flats, I think that remains the same. It's still quite strong.
Yeah.
But the demand for resale flats has also partially been shifted away to the BTO market because we are building more BTO flats. So some of the demand that previously during COVID period will go into the resale market, now they will go into the BTO market. And we are also going to build more what we call shorter waiting time flats, SWT flats.
Like it's a trade-off or what?
Okay.
Why are we trading off here?
We are not rushing through the construction, just to be clear. What happened is this, we will do the site preparation and we will do the initial steps like piling and things like that before we open up for launch for people to book.
What's the rationale for that?
So that they don't have to wait so long.
But how come last time not like that then?
No, but as in, what's the point of creating a separate scheme?
It's not a separate scheme. It's just part of the BTO scheme. Some of the flats where we can, because not every site you can do this, right? Some sites, the constraints of the sites, the land need a bit more time to prepare. Some of it is may impact the environment. So we need to do an environmental impact assessment. As many flats as possible, we can build early, we build early. So my guidance to my team when I went to MND is this simple line: build more, build faster. Because I think this is important for us to be able to cater to the strong demand through the BTO side of the house. Just to give you a sense of the scale, this year we're going to launch about 4,000. Next year we're going to launch another 4,000. So altogether about 8,000. 8,000 is about the size of the entire Bidadari estate.
Oh, wow.
So it's actually quite sizable.
Yeah. Which is actually before BTO, correct? Because BTO is not always the case, right?
Yeah,
BTO stands for build to order, meaning you order then you build.
Yeah.
In the past, it's actually not like that, right?
So
in the past, you build and sell, right?
So it's still build to order because you book ready.
But you're damn
order
confident of your
ready.
sales pipeline, is what's going on.
The demand is quite strong. So, which is why we can't do all the flats as shorter waiting time because some of the sites need more time to prepare. And also we don't want to overdo this because you may then have a lot of flats which later you build already, nobody book, right? If
you think that day will come. It's still possible that we see.
Well, not now, but we had it previously, right? And that's why we came out with this BTO scheme so that you strike a balance.
Right.
So I think these things are like that. You need to calibrate. You build too few, you won't be able to meet demand. You build too many, you have excess supply, it's also no good for the market.
But I'm actually curious how come the trend is going down because amongst my friends, my younger peers also, they tend to want to move out earlier now also. And like, I think there's a bit of conversation that's going on in terms of age eligibility being lowered. Is there a future where singles can buy bigger flats than 2-room flexis?
Okay. Today, singles can buy a resale flat of any size, right? But BTO, we have to balance this carefully because there are still many families who are applying for 3 and 4 room. I'm not saying that it's wrong for a single to buy a 3-room or 4-room, but if I have limited supply at the moment and I need to prioritize, the family with 3 or 4 people in the household versus the single who may be a single person, I do need to balance that carefully. Which is why I need to continue with this robust supply of BTO flats, build more, build faster. Because if I have sufficient supply, I got more buffer to do all these things that we discussed. To lower the eligibility age, to raise the income threshold, to allow singles to buy bigger flats. These are things which, with supply, with adequate supply, I got more degrees of freedom. With very tight supply, I will have very limited options.
I have another great suggestion. Like how we get the old people to stay together in the special flats and all that, right?
Yeah.
How about we do the same for singles? Then it's like a big dating pot.
So HDB making Love Island.
Yeah. Hey, why cannot? Then you facilitate.
HDB
It's like,
yeah.
it's like
The
university
matchmaking.
hall, ma.
PMO about this.
University hall.
And then you'll get married.
Let's go.
And then you'll get married now.
Then now I get a subsidized outside. Okay, then I wanted to ask actually how randomized really is the BTO ballot system? Because how come people can, I hear stories that people go to the MP write in, then they apply, then they get.
There are people who go and see MP, the MP write in for appeal for them, and then they go through the ballot and then they get. There are people who go and see MP, go through the ballot and then they don't get. Why? Because this is how balloting is done.
So then the MP is writing it for what?
Top not
The MP's
get you to shut the hell up and go away.
So
the
it takes
MP's
time for
letter,
MPs,
the MP's letter, and I tell this to my residents too when they come and see me. Our letter is to help you to get as high a chance as possible during the balloting. We will help you to explain to HDB your circumstances so that you can get as high a chance as possible.
Yeah.
We cannot have an outcome in Singapore whereby you go and see MP or you know some people and you then don't have to ballot or then that's Kelong, you know.
Yeah.
That's not fair anymore. So I think we have to make sure we maintain this system whereby it's fair to everybody. But because the balloting system calculates chances, like for example, first timer, if you have young children, if you stay near parents. So sometimes the residents may not be fully aware of all these different schemes.
Yeah.
And we take a look at their circumstances and we say, actually, in your case, you can actually apply for this.
Yeah.
And then we explain to them and we encourage them to apply. And if they agree, HDB can then give them the higher chance during balloting. But that's proper. It's because those are the established rules. Yeah, we have to maintain this system. In 2020, the application rate for first-time families, 7. So in other words, for every flat, 7 people apply and therefore a lot of people can't get, right? In 2025, this application rate has come down to between 1.1 to 1.9 for flats that are 3-room and larger. So for first-time buyers, because we give them extra chance, right? So in 2023 and 2024, about 2/3 of the first-time buyers managed to book a flat.
I see.
Wow. I remember when I bought this, my current house, my agent, which is my sister, also told me that there's a wait out period, some form of cooling measure that's somewhat new, that if you're from private, you want to sell and go to HDB, you must wait 15 months. So as you don't take your multi-million dollars, go and buy HDB and bump the HDB, right? And I heard last year, June, you talked about maybe removing that 15-month.
Yeah, this 15-month was put in place a few years ago because the resale market was very hot. It was keep increasing. And when they did the analysis, they found that a sizable proportion of the buyers were what they call former private property owners. And exactly like you mentioned,
Downgraders lah.
because they sold off their private property, so they were able to pay higher prices for resale. Nothing wrong in itself as an individual transaction, but when you take it together, the risk is that you drive up the resale market and it becomes unaffordable, especially for the first-time buyers. So because of that, MND then imposed this 15-month, but we recognize that there is a group that we don't really want to affect, which are the retirees, the seniors, who are trying to right-size for retirement purposes. So for this group, if you're 55 and above, and you sell your private property and you want to buy a 4-room or smaller flat, there's no 15-month waiting period.
Right.
You can do it immediately.
That's current, right?
That's current. That's current. Yeah. But the policy we recognize has its downsides because it affects personal choices. There's nothing wrong, as I said, for someone like yourself, younger, who if you want to switch from private to resale flat, there's no particular reason why we should prohibit you from doing it, right? Except because of this concern.
Yeah.
But once the resale market has started to stabilize, prices have started to moderate, and we are less concerned about overheated resale market, then I think we should remove this.
Right.
And that is my plan.
That's great news.
So we are monitoring this carefully. I think we are seeing some initial positive signs that I mentioned earlier because the last quarter, fourth quarter of 2025, resale prices were flat. This year we will monitor because if the supply of the resale flats increase and the prices start to moderate, I think it may give us greater confidence and the right opportunity to remove this 15-month.
I want to say it's helpful because I feel like for someone like me, you're at different stages in life and different reasons why we bought the condo and whatnot, right? And I used to always keep in my back pocket that let's say I health got problem or my mental health, I'm too stressed already. I can downgrade and I don't have to live such an intense life. And when this 15-month cooling period came out, right, it was like that option was removed. I either continue staying private or I continue to upgrade or downgrade in private, which is not as attractive as right sizing to do BPO.
We understand.
So
We
yeah,
understand. So that's why we wanted to make an adjustment as early as we can.
yeah.
Is there a current projection for when Singapore is going to run out of land space to build HDBs?
We of course can't keep building and building and building non-stop, right? I mean, there will be a limit. But if we do it well, Denise, we will not stop building. Okay, let me explain. First, there is a possibility of going higher or going underground. Not just housing, other things as well. So land is limited, but space, we have a bit more freedom. Give you one example. Next to my office in MOT, they have finished building already this commercial building with a substation, electrical substation underground.
Right.
In the past, the site will just be the substation. But the new design is they built the substation underground, and above ground is now a whole commercial building.
Right.
So the same thing can be done, and it's safe. The Japanese have done it, we learned from them, and we have now done it in Pasir Panjang. So in future, there can be similar such integrated mixed use where we combine different things and we intensify the land usage. You go higher or you go deeper. The second thing we can do, take old sites and rejuvenate. Older estates, both public and private, where you can redevelop and then you can intensify. When I was in MOT, one of the things that I shared was the change in the ICAO restrictions of the building height limits around airports and air bases. So with the new rules, because technology has improved, they are able to relax some of these height restrictions. Actually, we can build higher even when you are near to the airbase and airports. So this again gives us additional leeway and optionality.
More spaces.
More space, not necessarily more land.
Actually, that's an interesting thing about rejuvenating old, because I currently live in a resale flat, right? Well, I say resale, but actually it's 60 years left on the lease-ish. It's 7 stories high. When the time comes, that has to get taken, and then a 40-story, a BTO is going to come up there.
May or may not, depends.
Okay, may or may not, but-
because we are still working out the policy.
Okay.
This is what the VERS are, right? Voluntary Early Redevelopment Scheme. So this policy is still being worked out. We will share more details with Singaporeans sometime this term. Yeah. And then we will like to engage the public, get their feedback, understand what are the concerns before we finalize and start a few pilots next term in the 2030s. We don't have to rush this because the flats that will need to go through VERS in a sort of a larger scale manner will only start towards the end of next decade, in the late 2030s. So we still have a bit of time, but we need to start preparing now because this is a long-term, complex policy. But going back to this thing about rejuvenation, VERS is not something that we need to do for all flats. It is something that we will need to do for some of the flats to achieve the objective of orderly redevelopment. You don't want to wait for all of them to reach the end of 99. And then you have to tear everything down and rebuild everything all at one go because you will turn the entire town into a construction site. Instead, what we want to do is some of the flats we redevelop earlier, before they reach 99. Some of it can then be paced out over the next, say, because if you start, say we have 30 years, over the 30-year period, you can gradually develop. Better than you wait until everything reach 99 and then you redevelop all at one go, which can be quite disruptive. To be frank, VERS is going to be a difficult topic. Not something that will be easy to deal with. But I think it's important for me as Minister for National Development to take this on because we do need to explain to Singaporeans what this policy is about, what are the implications, what can we do so that we achieve a fair outcome. Fair to the current flat owners, but also fair to future generations. In my constituency, what we hope to do as part of the rejuvenation of Bishan is also to make Bishan a sub-regional centre. So there'll be more office space, more jobs going into the Bishan area. Of course, there'll be more flats as well in Bishan Toa Payoh that will cater to some of the residents, because not all of them will work there, but some of them will actually want to work there. They will be close to home, right?
It sounds like Bishan's going to have the first $2 million flat at this point.
I'm not sure, but I will try to, as the Member of Parliament for Bishan Toa Payoh, I will do my best to bring as much as I can in terms of facilities and improvements. So for Bishan, we're going to bring not just a sub-regional centre office space, we're going to have a hawker centre, we're going to have a polyclinic, and we're going to redo the bus interchange so that you'll be
That's very needed for Bishan. And Junction 8 needs a...
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we're going to work with the mall to see how we can
His
improve
constituency now,
that area.
Down
Yeah, then
Ang Mo Kio Hub.
In Toa Payoh as well, we have the Toa Payoh integrated development 4-in-1. So the polyclinic will shift over there, the library will shift over there, the Toa Payoh Park, and then of course the sports facilities. My residents are looking forward to the completion of the Toa Payoh integrated development. Some of them tell me they look forward to the indoor swimming pool.
Whoa.
Some are looking forward to having more tennis courts and badminton courts, and of course pickleball courts. And it's okay because it's indoors. So you won't disturb the neighbors. So this is actually something that people are looking forward to. Once the library moves over, actually the existing library building and the surrounding area at Toa Payoh Central, we can think through what to do with that area to rejuvenate that place too. The other area that has this scope for rejuvenation is near Caldecott MRT, that big piece of land that I mentioned just now. If we can do something there, including bring in some commercial facilities, I think that will be helpful for the residents.
I wanted to ask just now when you were talking about, say, for example, the Paya Lebar Air Base, the space being freed up, right?
Yes.
So when a plot of land gets freed up, do different ministers all now need to go and fight? Say like, I want this one, I build MRT, or like, no, this one, my park.
Oh, okay. We don't fight, but we discuss, because one of our strengths in Singapore
Wait,
is the master planning. Coordination, because you can't build a whole new town if you don't have the proper transport connectivity facilities for, like schools, hawker centers, polyclinics. So all that, you need the different ministries to come together through a planning committee. And of course, Ministry of Finance will need to agree as well, because a lot of these will require funding. But that's one of our strengths. Actually, not many countries, not many cities can do this in such a coordinated manner. And something that I think we should continue. It is something that gives us an advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unique in Singapore, but I would say Singapore is one of those places that have done this well. A right balance between new developments, rejuvenation, but also preserving what matters. Yeah. So like old police academy, Mount Pleasant, right? And also the old turf club at Bukit Timah. That's the concept that we intend to use. There will be parts where we will preserve the heritage, some of the older buildings, elements of greenery that we will preserve,
Right.
so that it blends nicely into part of the estate design.
Or the
I'm a big
area.
fan of that one. I want to go there.
Like the condo in Zouk.
Oh.
They left the old Zouk warehouse, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
then they
within Bishan Toa Payoh GRC. so-
yeah. No, is there my
Oh,
old
opposition
school?
one, you don't want him there.
Wow, your echo chamber, is it, John?
Okay, so we've come to the end of the episode. A big thank you to Minister for joining us today. And
Thank you.
sharing
Thank you very
openly
much,
with
everyone.
Us. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Simei Symphony, and I wanted to...
Simei what?
Simei
Symphony?
Symphony, and I wanted to know... I've
Not
never
bad,
heard a
honestly.
symphony
You come to
in-
Punggol,
The names are usually, we choose nice names that people feel they can sort of relate to.
so you choose, are we hearing that you choose?
Not I choose.
Oh.
There's a team. You want the name that people feel after they move in. They tell their friends, they tell their family members that they will feel proud. And they say, okay, I stay in, for example, in my area, Toa Payoh Crest, Toa Payoh Reach, Toa Payoh View. Right?
I stay at Symphony.
Yeah.
Symphony nice
Where-
one.
Where's that? Simei. Oh, that...
Nice one. What's wrong?
Hey, what's wrong with Simei?
And then hey, I'm a West Side boy now, so I gotta have this.
How dare you in the
there's
presence of
Sembawang-
MND?
I was reading out some of these Sembawang Beacon, and so I was like, sounded like a school.
That's not bad.
Sembawang Beacon Primary School or something like that.
Like I feel like Punggol one is like they ran out already. They are cycling.
Oh yeah?
They're cycling the
How
view,
many water-related
the
names can
view
you
and
have?
crest. Yeah, it's just a view crest already.